So we're setting up for our next cozy chat, which is very good. And just check now microphones are working. So Ignacio, if you could speak into your microphone, please. Say hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
That sounds working. And
Howdy.
now Jackie. Perfect. Very good. Okay. This sounds brilliant. Okay, so we're ready for our next. This is like a fireside chat, I guess.
That's
what you call this.
Every side.
So yeah. So we got a fireside chat here. I love the guy who comes up with these titles. The crucial steps when going through innovation. We're going to talk about the crucial steps when going through innovation, and with Ignacio and Jackie. So big round of applause from everyone for Ignacio and Jackie. Yay! Come on, it's afternoon. We got to keep the energy levels up.
They think we're going to talk innovation, but actually we're going to start dancing here.
That's it. It's the way we're planning to start. So we've got 20 minutes. We're supposed to be discussing about the steps for digital transformation for big corporations. So I think, first of all, we need to be really proud and thank Jackie for being here. She's a senior VP from Plug and Play. I think she will explain now, but those guys were involved in Dropbox, were involved in Lending Club, were involved in PayPal. So it's just really thank you. Thank you, Jackie, for being here. It's a pleasure for all of us, for Southern Europe ecosystem and for Spain. And well, I am, maybe starting with me is a little bit unpolite, but I'm Ignacio Tovar, Nacho Tovar. I'm the head of digital transformation for Iberia. For some of us, you may think that Iberia is like the flagship of Spain, really like an old school. We are like 90 years old company, but my background is a little bit different. So I joined the company 1 year ago, and I come from venture capital. So I used to work in a venture capital firm here in Madrid, in Samaipata Ventures, you may know, with Jose del Barrio. And so Jackie is here. So I think that first question from my side, if anyone in the house doesn't understand what is Plug and Play and how big that is, so what are the kind of things that you're doing in Plug and Play today?
Very good. Thank you so much. You are 90 years young.
That's it. That is what our CEO says.
Yes, 90 years young. So hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. We're very happy, very proud. And I have a very deep love for Spain. So my really dark intention is to open Plug and Play Spain. So you know, okay? So Plug and Play, for those of you that don't know, Plug and Play is the largest open innovation platform in the world. And so with that, we mean we invest in startups, we accelerate the startups, and we help the corporations with their digital transformation. So we do three things. When we wear our hat of startups, we typically try to do anywhere from seed to a little bit past A rounds. And that one is just because as investor, you have to focus on ROI. So you buy more with less, right? We finished last year with 162 investments just in the United States, plus another 100 around the world, which put us as the most active investor in the United States and second largest globally in Q2 for 2018. So we're very happy for that. and we operate now in 28 cities around the world. And with those 28 cities, hopefully we hope to discover more unicorns. We have 5 unicorns. The ones that you mentioned, the 2 extra SoundHound, that it is one of voice-activated artificial intelligence that is you're going to see it soon in the Daimler cars. Most likely you saw the news last week or a couple of weeks ago. And the other one is Guardian Health. It's chromosome technology for diagnostics. We have the 6th one already, but we cannot say anything yet.
Can't you, really?
Yeah, no, it's fun. It's fun. We're having fun for sure.
Okay.
We're not the good ones. I mean, the sexy ones are the startups.
That's it. That's it. I think you may be part of startups. You may be part of big corporations collaborating with startups or thinking in collaborating with startups. So next question could be, what do you think are the main challenges for big corporations to go through this digital transformation path? It's a good question. It's a really complicated one.
It is obviously that's the biggest path because, as you well know, for startups, there's a challenge to raising funding, and of course, you want to get funding from reputable investors, et cetera, et cetera. But really, the challenge is bigger than that. What you really need is customers. paying customers, and we were talking yesterday about that in the panel, right?
That's it.
And so paying customers is the most crucial thing that you need. So the way we operate and the way we help startups is by helping them discover customers. And then the customers are precisely the large corporation, because it's easier to walk with the hand of Iberia or any of the Fortune 500 companies. We work today with around 300 Fortune 500 corporations, and we help them to discover this technology. At Plug and Play, we do believe that innovation should be open for everybody. And the challenge that we have is that innovation is kind of like a little tricky monster that it is very difficult to deal with. And you don't know how. You don't know how to deal with startups. You don't know how to ingest startups, which is the biggest problem. And so the biggest challenge for digital transformation, I would summarize in the large corporation, would be perhaps three biggest ones that I can see in my point of view. Number one side is to try to discover high quality technology with applicable cases that you can start working with them tomorrow, such a way that you can reduce your go-to-market to put this technology into your customers' hands. On the internal side, that's external, it's an extrinsical factor. How can you expedite, or how can you put your hands into high quality startups at scale? Because in an ecosystem which is relatively reduced, for example in Europe, perhaps you go 1 year around Europe, and then you met all the startups that you needed to meet, and then what do I do next, right? And then you saw all the startups you were able to see. But then the world is bigger than that. And so how the first program you can do it okay, the second program maybe, and then the third program you get stuck because you don't have startups. So intrinsically, then there's the second phase. Let's assume you already had this ability to discover startups, and mostly I recommend use third party, because third party, my core competition is that. Your core competition is to move passengers and cargo. And so, so let's do whatever is your core competition. And so, but internally, one of the biggest challenges for digital transformation is your capacity to ingest this technology inside of the organization, and then the cultural transformation that comes one ahead or simultaneously with the other. How can we convince the organization, which are large organizations, many times more than 5,000 employees? In your case, you're what, like
16,000.
16,000. I mean,
we are part of a group with IAG, which is like, just British Airways is like 45,000.
Imagine, right? So we deal with corporations like, for example, Daimler, which is like 60, how many? 30,000 employees. And imagine for an organization of that caliber, how do you communicate from one side to the other side of the organization? And so there is a few ingredients that need to happen, and this is one, they believe from the C-level that innovation is important, and that you have to incorporate and align your innovation strategy with your digital, with your business strategy. So if you don't have the two of them aligned, and it doesn't come from the top, from the bottom you can kind of scream and do whatever you want, and it's not going to happen, and it is complicated. And so those are the biggest challenges.
That's great. Thank you for that. And then conscious that, we are like using many names and many words to try to define the same thing. Sometimes it's a little bit like misleading. So what is your definition of open innovation in just one sentence? That's another complicated one, but really a short one. So what is, for Plug and Play, collaborating with so many corporations and startups, think of open innovation? And I think you partially asked this question, but what would be your definition, just as a takeaway for all of us to take to our companies and to take home?
I would summarize it in one word: collaboration. Collaboration. That's open innovation. And it is external and internal. And so I guess that the biggest problem, or the way that we used to think about innovation in the past, is that you have competitors. You don't talk to your competitors. you don't talk to these other people because they can steal our idea. They can do things better if they are going to copy us. And what we have learned, and if you go to Silicon Valley, really, and it happens to Google. I mean, Google, we had Google at one of the buildings of my boss, Saeed Amidi. And when they started and they said that they wanted to build a search engine, people were looking at them as like, why would you like to build a search engine if there are already 13 in the market? I mean, there was Alta Vista, Excite at Home, Yahoo, and all the other ones with a few variations. And at the end of the day, we know the story. And the difference was one, execution. And so when you have your strategy aligned, execution is important. But what you have to understand is that even in your closest competitor, you can find synergies. And we have discovered that in this platform that we have, is that competitors sit on the same table and they talk the same level strategically when it comes to innovation. And that makes a huge difference. Huge. So collaboration. So in America, I'm naturalized American. I was born in Mexico. But in America, they say, have your friends close and your enemies closer. So at least you know what they are doing, right? And what can you collaborate? I mean, it is unbelievable.
Yes, I think the way you put in the same table competitors in plug and play is absolutely amazing. So, yeah,
it's difficult, and we understand, and in many cases it's very difficult. And sometimes it was so complicated, for example, to put on the table Daimler and Porsche on the same program. Yet they are collaborating, and just in the program that we have in Stuttgart for mobility, for example, we have 19 partners, including these two giants. And the interesting part is that the speed at which they have developed pilots is just ridiculous. In less than 3 years, 2 years and something that we have been operating, 4 batches, I think, we're into the 5th batch of acceleration programs. They have done 63 pilots. So for an organization of that caliber, to be able to deliver 63 pilots, out of which approximately 30 they are in post-pilot evaluation, the vendor thing, and how to integrate, etc. And they already have a handful of technologies that are going to, or are deployed in cars for 2019. That's serious business, especially for an industry that it takes anywhere from 5 to 7 years to roll out technology. And so if you're able to do something faster, why not? Why can you not get to your customers faster?
Can you hear me well? Yeah, now you can. Another question, just conscious that you just gave us great news, and you said that you were opening a new office or about to open a new office in Spain. So why do you think Southern Europe and Spain is interesting for plug and play? And 2 questions in one. And what is the main difference between our ecosystems and the ones that you are like managing in the United States, or in terms of startups and also corporations? So are we different? Is Iberia different to American Airlines?
It is. It is very different. Of course, number one is the scale. And there's no comparison. There is no other ecosystem as big except for China. And China is humongous, the amount of technology and startups. And of course, the money that it is floating right now is just ridiculous. I mean, it's going to be even bigger than the US very soon. But other than that, I do believe there is a lot of talent. I mean, startups are incredible in Spain. They are really good. But still, we have to take them a little bit higher. And the problem that happens in Spain, for example, is that there is a lot of early stage money. But then once that they receive the funding for perhaps Series A, so we go to the seed, then go with Series A, and then they the startups all fall into the void. And why? Because then when it comes to go to market, our large corporations are still afraid of dealing with startups. And so we think we can catalyze that change. And so we have done it in several cities. We're operating in many countries. And what we need is really to believe that working with startups is not complicated. And the way we have done it is we have done it very easily. It took us a little while to figure it out. But the way we have done it, as investors, we invest in early stage. However, as digital transformation aid to help large corporations, we are stage agnostic. So we deal with startups that are in growth stage that have raised sometimes up to $100 million worth of funding. Of course, for the rest of the world, $100 million worth funding startup is not a startup, it's a real company, right? For Silicon Valley, it's still a startup. You know, this inflation of numbers, but that's the way it works. And so what is happening then, and it happens for companies that are heavily regulated, automotive, health, banking, insurance. These organizations cannot work many times with a girl and a guy and a dog. It's very complicated to start on that side of the spectrum, especially not for core technology, all the back end, right? And so what we have done is we mitigate the risk for the large corporation by introducing startups that are way bigger. And because our platform includes more than 300 corporations, then it's not one corporation. It's the way we select startups is based on what 300 corporations believe. This is good technology. And they are already operating not with one, maybe with two, maybe with 10 very large customers, such a way that if you want to start working with them tomorrow, you can do it. So we have the whole spectrum. We have perhaps a third that are growth stage, B series, sometimes C, that are pretty solid. And then you have also the ones that have products that are applicable cases ready to deploy. And so with that, then you have a whole range. So you start training your corporation, especially just the big guys, that the word risk doesn't exist in their vocabulary. And I said, I cannot assume risk. And then you give them a safe environment to have a little playground to fail safely. And so that way is easier to bring you. So once that they start losing the fear, then they start coming down. And what we need to do in Spain is precisely that. We have to stop fearing. We have to just go and do it. And I believe we can do it. And so we have amazing corporations, but we have to move from the logo innovation to the ingestion, utilization of product from startups, implementation, and go to market. And so that's the part that we feel we can help a little bit. And so,
thank you very much.
Help me out.
Absolutely. I think maybe just the last question. I think it's important. It's also linked with the previous one. But what are you looking for when you analyze startups and also corporations? So which are the kind of skills, capabilities, or whatever that a startup will have to be part of your portfolio, or even corporations? And you're starting to build in some partnership here and whatever. So which kind of corporations are the ones that you are looking for here?
For the startups, we're looking for startups that do have technologies with applicable cases. And so it could be artificial intelligence, but okay, how do you use your artificial intelligence to resolve a real problem for a large corporation? And that might be, for example, you to understand passenger flow, or to personalize your offer, for example. That could be something that it is applicable. So how can we put that into practice in reality, not in the ether, right? For corporations, we want corporations that are ready to roll up their sleeves, that really want to test these technologies and that they want to roll them out. And so it is not okay, and it is not something that we can open a new location if the startup if the corporation just want to have their logo somewhere in the wall. That doesn't work for an ecosystem. So we need corporations that really want to say, yes, we discover SoundHound, We tested SoundHound, and we're going to implement it as the next voice assistant for the cars in Daimler. And that's what we want to see, because that is what really helps and creates the ecosystem. So if we're able to accomplish that one, every taker, you know where to find me, Jackie at PMPTC. It is not a matter of if, it's when. And so, and when it's you guys, corporations, especially large corporations, that we need you, those are the ones that we really need. So hopefully we can achieve.
We will together. So thank you so much, Jackie. I hope you enjoyed this fireside as I did. It was really interesting for me. And feel free just to come and ask any questions once we have finished all this, and we'll be around. I don't know if we can now or not. Or if
we have still one for question? No, I believe not. But well,
sorry for that.
We're not, but we're here. So feel free to ping me.
Okay, thank you very much,
everybody.
Guys.